Hey everybody, let's talk about factoring quadratic trinomials. Now, this is some pretty advanced factoring what we're going to do compared to what we've been doing up to this point. So, in a way, I think it's best if you think about kind of like we're going backwards. When you had two binomials and you were multiplying them by each other, you learned FOIL and a couple other things. So we're going to kind of be reversing and going backwards from having a trinomial and putting it into sort of a FOIL form where we have, you know, our first, outside, inside, last terms lined up the right way. So we're going to start by looking at versions of this that have a coefficient of 1 for your leading term right here. And then b and c are positive. So we're using this ax squared plus bx plus c form. A is always equal to 1 in these versions that we're doing, and then b and c are positive. All right, so let's start looking at this, and then we're gonna formulate some ways on how to do this. So the first thing is you always want to make sure it's written in that form, ax squared plus bx plus c. So you always want your quadratic term, your squared term, always to the left, and then your degree of one term next to it, and then your constant all the way on the right. So once you have it like that, the next thing you do, and you're not going to really see this in any of these that we do in the first few videos, but the next thing you do is you look and you see, is there anything I can factor out, any numbers I can factor out of all these terms? And if you look at that, not really, because the greatest common factor we have between those three is 1, and that's not going to help us with anything. So now what we do is you have to think about the way these go together when you multiply them. So you've got x here, you've got x here, and so if you remember, what we do is these two terms that go right here, well, I know that when I multiply them together, they give me this last term. So I know that what I'm looking for is I'm looking for factors of 42. That when I multiply them together, I get 42. All right, so that's easy enough. So I've got like 1 and 42, 2 and 21, and we've got 3 and 14. 4 doesn't go into it, 5 doesn't go into it, and then 6 and 7, and then otherwise it's just kind of, it would be 7, 6, 14, 3, and we don't need to write those down even if they're going the other direction. The next thing we got to think about now, because we've got 4 choices here of what we can take, is I know that this term, when I multiply it together, and these two, when I multiply them together, I'm going to add them to get this 17x. So if you look at the form of this, basically it's like you're taking the two factors that you're multiplying to get 42 and you're adding them. You're adding them up to get this term right here. So take a look at this, right? We got positive 42. 1 and 42 add up to give me 43, so that's way too big. 2 and 21 add up to give me 23. 3 and 14, 17, and then 6 and 7 give me 13. Well, the only one that matches both criteria is this one right here. And so when we write out our binomials, we're going to have x. You're always going to start by this, write your x's. I know that everything in here is positive, so these are going to be positive. X plus, and then it's going to be x plus 3 and x plus 14. And then all you got to do is, I'm going to encourage you guys on all of these to make sure that you are expanding this out to check your work and make sure it's right. So we did our first term there, and do our outside terms. That's going to give me 14x. Let's do our inside terms, plus 3x. And we're going to do our last terms, which gives me plus 42. And then it looks like it works. All right. So, well done. Let's try another one. All right, d squared plus 11d plus 24. All right, so we're going to start the way we did before. I'm going to keep it in the screen. And we're going to find factors of 24. All right, so we've got 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6, and then that's it. No, 6 and 4, 8 and 3, and we don't, like I said, we don't need to rewrite these. So not only do I want these factors all multiply to give me 24, but I want to pick the pair of factors that adds together and gives me positive 11. So 1 and 24 gives me 25, so it's not that. 2 and 12 gives me 14, and then 3 and 8 gives me 11. So this is going to be our winner chicken dinner here. So we're going to go D, D. We got our parentheses set up, so we have plus 3 because that's a positive 3, and then plus 8 because that's a positive 8 right there. And then let's expand it out. So we get D squared, outside term, plus 8D, inside 3D, and then last is 24. And then add them up, combine the like terms, and then compare. And it looks like we are good again. All right, so this is the most basic and kind of the easiest ones to do, but I'm glad we're starting with this because we're building a foundation that we're going to work upon.